Making numbers interesting. Do you work a lot with numbers and have to explain numbers in networking? Yes, no? You have to talk about numbers. So numbers can be difficult to grasp. This number, what's this number?
12 billion.
12 billion. Very good.
12,000.
I usually do this for Spanish people. I don't know, as you know, Spanish people, as you say,
Yeah.
12,000 millions. 12 billion in Spanish is different from 12 billion. Nice. Can you grasp, can you imagine 12 billion? It's your half your annual salary. No? What about this? Can you picture, imagine 1 nanosecond? You probably can. Can you picture it? No, difficult. So, numbers are not always easy to grasp. So, too big, too small. And this is a problem with money, population, quantities, time, dimensions. So when you do your presentation and you go and you revise it and look at anytime you mention a number in your presentation, think about a way of making it concrete by comparing it to something else so that your audience can grasp how big or how small or how important this number is. Let me give you a couple of examples from different areas that you might be able to use yourself. Countries. I want to talk about how big Africa is. Okay? So I show you the Peters map. Peters map, they say, is the best map for showing the true representation of the sizes of countries. This is the Peters map, and in the Peters map, you get an idea of how big Africa is. You can see, the ordinary map, that doesn't show a true representation. Okay, I could show the map, that's one way. Another way I could do it is through this, by highlighting population or square kilometers. Again, difficult to grasp. Big numbers, big populations. What about if I do this? That's how big Africa is. All of China, Ireland and England, India, United States, France, Spain, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Eastern Europe. They all fit into Africa. But there's a visual representation of data that you can catch pretty quickly.
Technologies, right?
It would take me 1 hour to make this.
No.
1 day.
Yeah, well, 1 day probably.
I'm going to show you, I'll give you a link to a website, actually 2 or 3 websites, and there are many, many different examples of these. I took this from one, this one is from Information is Beautiful, the link is on the wiki, and they have huge amounts of informatics on population, technology use, health, and maybe you find the one that could be useful for your presentation. Okay?
But then all of this is copyrighted.
All of this is copyright. Information is Beautiful is free to use. Also, speaking of copyright, if you show a picture in a presentation, copyright, video is different, but a picture in a presentation, as far as my research tells me, it's free from copyright. If you email it to anybody, then it's copyrighted and then you're breaking the law. But if you show it in a live performance, it's not copyrighted. It is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Even if you say
you are making a profit out of the work of another person. Yeah. There was actually a last edition of CHI, Conference Human Interaction. There was a paper about how you should give credit to, and there was a whole algorithm to help you do that because it's really complicated with the rules that you have to follow, even for Creative Commons.
But if you give credit, do you still have to ask for permission, or if you give credit, is that enough?
No, you have to ask. It depends on the license. So if it's a Creative Commons, you have all the restrictions.
Okay.
If it's copyrighted, then you have to ask for permission.
Can you send me a link to that? Because I searched and what I read was that in an oral presentation, if you show an image, it's not under copyright.
That depends on the country.
Depends on the country.
Yeah, but I think that it's worldwide.
Okay. If you can send me the link.
Okay.
Okay, here's millions of dollars. No, this is millions of euros given in aid. This is another way to do it with. This is easy to do. You can do this. This is based on diameter or
Surface area.
Surface area, thank you, of circles. So you have 15.3 billion Indian Ocean tsunami, 2004. 9/11 relief fund, 10 billion. 4.7 Hurricane Katrina. This was Haiti. Okay, so this very visually shows you how little was given to Haiti compared to 9/11, Katrina, and Indian Ocean.
250,000 people died in Indian Ocean tsunami. 250,000.
Yeah, but I know, yeah, and that's why I put it first. But when you compare it to these two, you'd expect this to be next, wouldn't you? So you're not surprised by this statistic? That for the 9/11 relief fund, it gets 10 times more or 9 times more?
How many Jews died in 9/11?
I won't even answer that. Okay, so that's a visual comparison of numbers, okay? You can do a visual comparison of numbers by surface area of circles. If it's for a general public, it's a way to really quickly show comparison. Okay?
Better than a bar graph.
Better than a bar graph. Yeah.
These are not proportional to the amounts they represent, or are they?
They are proportional to
The
ones.
sizes.
Sizes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Surface area.
This is the thing about
No,
pie
it's not
charts and around objects in general. Humans are very bad in judging surface area.
Yeah.
Much better actually in judging numbers. So
Again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make an impact. I'm not trying to make a scientific statement that it's 4 or 5 times or 5.6 times more. I'm just trying to say, look, Haiti got a really small amount, and at my point probably it should be getting more, it should have got more.
The physicists are very good at this because they have to mention very big numbers
Yeah.
about things that are not perceptual. There's nothing or arithmetic like.
It's like when there's a
apple. There's one apple here, and the other one is
Yeah.
in the sun, and that's the distance between the electron and the
Yeah.
core. These analyses are good. Helps you.
Okay, next one is dimensions. iPod. No? 5 gigabytes, all the dimensions. That's not the way Apple sold it.
1,000 songs.
1,000 songs in your pocket. Right? Really catchy. Everyone caught that. Okay, so it takes imagination, it takes time to think of these really impactful ways to get your numbers interesting, but it can be worth it. So, look for every mention of a number in your presentation and think about making it impactful by comparing it to something else or doing something visual.